What do you all think of that episode?
Yeah.
Amazing to see it back. Oh, here's this badass trio of ladies. We've got Cierra Ramirez. Maia Mitchell. And chief showrunner Joanna Johnson. We'll give them a minute. It's fine. We have. How are you? Hi. Grab a seat.
Hello? Check, check. Hi, everyone.
So the Fosters began in 2013. This journey probably began even in 2012 with casting. Joanna, what was your first impression of these amazing ladies when you met them that many years ago?
Well, is it working? Okay. I was brought in to run the show. Peter and Brad, who wrote the pilot, they were the ones who did this brilliant casting, so I can't take credit for that. But when I met them, I thought, Peter and Brad have good taste.
Thank you.
When you guys auditioned, did you ever imagine that fast forward several years, you'd be getting your own spinoff, EPs? Like, was that even something you even knew to dream about?
Not at all.
My audition was absolute trash, so I thought I blew it. But yeah, no, and I mean, you do a pilot, like you don't even know if it's gonna get picked up.
Just cross your fingers and hope for the best.
Or even a season 2 is great. So to be still working together, like what, 6 years later is wild. Yeah.
So Maia, what did you do to turn it around?
My manager begged our casting director to bring me back, and they did. So yeah.
What did you have to do differently to show them that you had this in the bag?
I was just so nervous. I'd like completely run out of money at that point and had to move back to Australia. So I was actually at home when I got the audition, and I borrowed money from my parents and flew back to audition in person because I didn't want to risk it and send a tape. And I just like had put so much pressure on myself. And when I get nervous, I cannot even string a sentence together. So yeah, it was just a disaster. But, yeah.
Has that happened on set too? Have there been moments where you just were really nervous and pressuring yourself about a scene?
Yeah, definitely. I think anytime I have to like speak in front of an audience or something, like those kind of scenes, especially on the Fosters, there was a lot of like protesting and stuff like that. That was always tricky, but no, you get through it.
Cierra, have there ever been any moments throughout the years that you stumbled with and struggled with?
Oh, absolutely. There are a lot of times, but I think that's like what's so fun about it is stepping out of your comfort zone. I think the best things happen that way. But yeah, no, and I mean, we're with such amazing people that help you calm you down. So it ends up being really great.
You guys have both growing up on this show. What's something that the characters have taught you personally? That maybe you learned something about an issue or helped you really decide how you feel about something?
I mean, I think for me, Mariana never takes no for an answer. And I think
Neither do you.
but very true. But I mean, she has helped me kind of really realize that, especially in this industry, it is kind of a no industry, and it can get very, you get attached to a role or an audition and really excited, and you get told no quite a bit. But if you just are super persistent in everything and just stay true to yourself, you'll make it happen one way or another, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's what's so incredible about this show is kind of how political it gets and how relevant it is just socially. And so I think it's put kind of a fire in our bellies. And, we really care about what we're doing on the show. And for me, that's what I've taken from it.
Well, speaking of, I mean, the Black Lives Matter subject is a big one for this show. Joanna, can you talk about why it's so important to be addressing this on television in a show for this audience specifically?
Well, I think one thing that I feel like in this country is that, we don't talk about race enough, and it makes people uncomfortable, and it's a conversation that we need to have, and not just after tragic police shooting, but constantly. And sometimes the people who I think are most uncomfortable talking about race are white people. You know, no one wants to feel that they're racist at all or that they have any biases. So they tend to say things like, oh, I'm colorblind, I don't see color. But that actually is erasing somebody's real experience, because there are differences, and to say I don't see that you are different or have a different experience in our country than me is dismissing them. And when I was writing the pilot, Stephon Clark had just been shot, and I thought, you know, we got to keep talking about this, you know, and we got to talk about excessive force. And very much like the character on Good Trouble, Jamal had a cell phone in his hand, which is what Stephon Clark had in his hand. And the definition of why when police are allowed to use excessive force, to me is far too broad, even though in California we have changed the law slightly. But the Supreme Court basically tells the police in settled laws, that if a police officer has any kind of perception of a threat, they can shoot. And perception is subjective. And if you have biases that you're not aware of, especially against people of color, you're allowed to get away with that. So I just felt it was something really important to delve into. And then you can't tell that story without talking to Black Lives Matter. And so I reached out to Patrice Cullors, who's one of the co-founders, and I said, you know, yeah, she's amazing. And asked, you know, would you consult, would you talk to us? And she was amazing. And now we've added her to the writing staff as well, which is really exciting.
It is really incredible. It is really remarkable that this is a show, and I think this is the magic of the show, where you have these moving moments. I know Cierra was getting emotional just watching it now.
She cries every time.
I was like, but to have a show where you have these huge issues and you're addressing them in this really real way, and then also mixed with the absolute hilarity of the Raj Mariana storyline, like, oh my God. But can you talk a little bit about finding that right note, finding when to hit the comedy, how much comedy to hit when you are hitting such important issues?
Well, I like to mix tone. I remember when I saw Terms of Endearment years ago, and I'm laughing, this is a funny show, funny thing, and all of a sudden, what, she's dying? And all of a sudden, whoa, you know, and that had a profound effect on me about how amazing it is to laugh and cry, to have all of those feelings provoked inside of you, and that there's room for that. That you can go from something tragic and then have a laugh. You need to almost. Mm-hmm. So I love that part of the show. I started in comedy, and so I kind of always love to try to find the humor, and these two wonderful actresses have great comedic timing, and you know,
Really?
you do. You're amazing. So it's when you want, you say to Maia
He's not
sometimes,
the funniest character.
no, but
She
you are
has her
funny. Your
moments.
looks to her,
Oh,
the
yeah.
looks you give her, like, are hilarious.
They say it all.
Yeah, and you just say to Maia, she goes, oh, you want me to do the comedy? Got it. So yeah, I mean, they are so facile, they can do anything. So
Thank
there's
you.
nothing we can't write for them, and that's a dream.
Absolutely. Can you also talk about, I mean, one of the things that's really fun about this show that's a big difference from The Fosters is the playing with time and using funky timelines and teases. Why do it for this show, and then have there been difficulties with it, or has it just been an additional way to play?
Yeah, our brains are complete mush all of the time. Because scene numbers don't matter, so you're kind of all
You
over
add
the
another
place.
element, it's just you're all over the place.
Yeah, it's hard for the actors because you have to remind them of where they're at in the story, because it's not done in a linear, which they're used to doing anyway, because we shoot out of sequence. So you know, we all script supervisors or directors try to help also say, no, this happens after this, because you're used to shooting out of sequence. Yeah. But one thing about The Fosters was when you do a soap, you are often looking for the surprise. And so, and with 6 act breaks, you know, to commercial, they're like, what's the act break? And so you end up having to stretch a little bit, and you can jump the shark fairly easily because you're always trying to find a shocking moment. And so I was thinking when I was writing the pilot I read the script, because first we just did it straightforward, and I thought, well, okay, this is just normal. And I thought, what about suspense? What about being able to use that to slow down the soap a little bit? So like, if you get all this information and you're like, huh, I wonder how that happened, and you have to watch the episode to understand how you got there. And it's been really, really fun and challenging for everybody, you know. But I realize also viewers are very sophisticated now, and they're not going like, I wonder what day this is, or you know, what time in the afternoon is this? You know, they're following the story. So if the story makes sense, even if they're a little confused, they go with it. And I wanted people to be sort of a little, sometimes confused / intrigued, engaged, to have a mystery element. And the other thing is I really wanted people to stop. I know we live tweet, and it's a good thing for press and everything, but like, I don't want people on their phones. You know, I want people having to pay attention to follow the story.
Also, I kind of like, just like as an audience member myself, you know, that they have a little bit more insight than a lot of the other characters. Like those, I remember reading the script, and I didn't know how exactly it was gonna go over with like the whole like kind of internal scenes or moments where a scene goes one way and then you realize, oh, that was all in their head.
Little fake out?
Yeah, I love those. But you know, the audience has a little bit of a secret. I don't know, I like it.
Yeah, it's fun because with this kind of structure, you can do a lot of stuff. You can get away with it. And so we play with that technique of that device of, she didn't really say it, but we don't want to overdo it because that can get tiresome too. Yeah, so you do have that sort of, you can do anything when you set that template for the audience that, hey, we're going to mix this up, then it just opens up possibilities.
Well, speaking of, there was the amazing tango last season. Uh-oh, Maya's making a face. What does that mean?
She worked so hard,
Yeah.
and it killed her. And you know when Malika pushes her back into the bedroom? Well, poor Maya smacked her head against the headboard.
Oh,
So
bless her
we
heart.
literally almost killed her. She like had almost a concussion, and she's like, "No, let's just get it done." So and it looks amazing. You did so great.
It did.
Thank you. The choreographer for that, Chris Scott, choreographed me in 2 movies before, so he knew what he was getting into. So that was good. That saved me.
Are we going to see some more dancing in season 2?
No?
No, you are.
Well, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, we're going to see all kinds of interesting things. There's definitely going to be things you're not going to expect. Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I didn't want to overuse that, you know. So we're not going to be breaking into dance numbers, you know, fantasy dance numbers every week. But but you know, when we had our set designer Rachel Camerman, who's just brilliant, and the coterie is such a beautiful set, and the first time I saw it, I thought, oh, there has to be a tango in here, you know, and yeah, I did, because I was thinking of, like, I love in Moulin Rouge, the Roxanne, that tango, and so I thought, oh, I'm gonna have to figure it out somehow, and so we did it, and
We're gonna have to figure it out.
And having it be like a Callie tangoing with her conscience, you know, being pulled between two lovers, being pulled between 2 points of view politically, you know, just kind of made sense.
Did you feel pulled in many directions?
So many. Pulled all over the place.
What I love about these 2 ladies, honestly, they never complain. I mean, they just do it. They're like, okay, what do I have to do? And like, you know, we made you roller skate and do dance club.
Derby.
And, you know, we
Even made me do dance class.
we made you do dance class.
And Derby, right?
Yeah.
You
No, we
you
didn't.
had like a
we
little-
almost
I
did.
had to skate. No, they wrote I don't know if anyone watched the Fosters, but they wrote the Derby. Initially, it was supposed to be
It was gonna be,
me,
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and I was like,
She's like, no, I can't. I can't. So we're like, but then we liked the idea of it being a Latina sort of group. But yeah, but would you put them through a lot? It's not an easy show.
They
guys
keep us
work
on our
hard.
toes, for
Yeah.
sure.
So Cierra, has it been eye-opening playing a Latina in the tech industry? Did you know that this was such a rare thing?
I did. I got a little bit of an idea whenever Mariana kind of started it as a hobby in high school. Through that, I met a lot of young girls who were interested in coding and tech, and I realized, yeah, how kind of rare it is. But it's an exciting thing, and I think it's time to, represent that on TV and to be able to play that role and kind of get these conversations going. I mean, what she's dealing with at work is something that is so relatable in all workplaces, and it's something that obviously needs to change. So, that's been the most fun for me, is fighting the patriarchy. Overall, it's been so fun. I love the girl power. But no, yeah, Latinas in tech too. Yeah, it's been really fun to represent for both of those.
Awesome. And the show does such an amazing job of representing so many different people and so many different walks of life. And it is really remarkable to see a fully fleshed out bisexual man represented on television. Joanna and Maia, can you talk a little bit about helping develop that and Gael's character?
Well, when we were transitioning from Fosters to Good Trouble, we realized that we were taking two cis straight characters, and so it was important that we had a main character or more, of course, that to represent what we did so much in the Fosters, which is the LGBTQI community. And so one thing that I always think has been interesting is this notion of, I think bisexuality, even within the LGBTQ community, bisexual people have had a hard time because they're like, well, you can't be both. People get, it doesn't matter what group you're in or what minority group you are in or whatever. There's always like subgroups of that, and so one thing so a lot of bisexual people, weren't really embraced, and especially men. I think that people kind of say, oh yeah, I could see a woman wanting to sleep with another woman, especially because sexuality is very patriarchal too in very many ways. So it's like, yeah, that's hot, but two men together, well, no, he's just gay and he just can't come out of the closet, so he's just saying he's bisexual, and it's really not true. And so it was important to us to explore that. And with Callie, it's a great character because Callie has, she was in a relationship with a transgender male, and she's very open-minded, and to kind of look at your own stereotypes of and a lot of women are like, oh, I'd never go out with a bisexual man. But not because they're bisexual, because more competition, So I thought it was very provocative and a good, ideal fit for Callie.
Yeah, and I think it's good to talk about, biphobia is such a big thing, and it's real even with people that think they're open-minded. And so it was important with us, for Callie, to explore, where that line is crossed, and, is it biphobic to feel threatened by, other men if you're dating someone who is bi, so that was important.
I have a couple quick questions, and then I'll throw it to the audience because I know you guys probably have a ton of them. Are we going to see some more of the Foster's friends coming back?
Yeah.
In season 2?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Will Noah be back? I hear you. I represent.
Can't disclose everyone, Got to keep it a secret.
TBD.
I heard he's busy right now.
He's maybe He-Man. I'm actually really looking forward and hoping we're going to see a lot more of David Lambert, because I feel like his appearance in season 1 left a lot of story out there, and I want to know more about what's happening there. So that's my pitch to Joanna, that I want some more David Lambert.
I wish will come true.
And then this is a big question that I have, and I imagine some of the audience does as well. We haven't hit any holidays yet. So what happens come Christmas for these characters? Do they go home to the moms?
I don't know. That's all I can say.
All right, and with that, I open it up to questions. I think there are some people with microphones, and if there's not, just shout really loud. We can hear you pretty well. Anybody? Come on. I know I didn't ask your only question.
It's gonna be really awkward if no one asks a question.
Then you're gonna have to listen to me some more. And who wants that? Okay, right here. Thank you. How did the idea of doing the spinoff come about?
Well, we would have done the Fosters forever. We love the show so much. But for many reasons, you know, the show financially just couldn't go forward. And the network also was rebranding to be, you know, very much trying to be, you know, in the 20s and tell those stories. So it really made sense when we realized, and they asked us, they're like, we want to keep telling these stories. We want this to go on. You know, would you be open to spinning it off? And, you know, we were like, sure. And it really was sort of like, great, done. And we're like, oh, we have to come up with something. So, did I answer the question? I guess, so that's what happened. So, yeah. And then the idea was to jump them forward so that we could actually see them out of college and see them, you know, struggling in the world with, I think high school shows are really popular because everybody went to high school and everybody kind of gets that. College shows have not been traditionally that successful. And so,
I mean, I'm moderating the Greek panel later, so careful then.
what, Pat, for what? What?
I'm moderating the Greek panel later, so careful.
Well, oh, Greek, yeah. Well, okay, but it's not on anymore. No, I'm kidding. But, no, there was Felicity, but, you know, there haven't been how many high school shows are there? A gazillion. You know, so I think college is a hard thing because I don't think everybody goes to college or feels like, you know, I mean, Grownish, though, is doing a great job, so I take it all back. Anyway, we thought it'd be interesting when you come out of school, especially if they come out with very distinguished, you know, degrees, and you think you're hot shit, and you think you're gonna go out there and the world's gonna be like, we're so happy you're here, and they're like, get coffee. We don't care what you think. And so it was kind of fun to show that.
How did you come up with the name Good Trouble?
John Lewis, civil rights leader and senator, says it a lot in his speeches that young people, that we all, but also young people, have to get out there and make good trouble, necessary trouble, to make change, which is what they did during the civil rights era, and we loved it. It sounded just like what we wanted to do with the show.
Cool. Audience. Right here in the red.
I was wondering how it feels to actually play your own age.
Oh, it's so nice.
It is nice. I don't remember what it feels like to wear a backpack. I'm like, I forgot what that was like.
I know. I never thought I'd get the chance, but here we are.
No, yeah, it's exciting. I mean, obviously we grew up with these roles, so to now fully be our age is very exciting, and to explore that whole world. Because again, I have learned a lot from my character and kind of gone through everything with her. So I'm kind of doing the same thing as well, kind of taking on the adult world and seeing what that's like, all of the trials and tribulations that come along with that. We just had a view and chew with our cast and crew for this episode, and I brought my mom.
Why did you do that?
I don't know.
Why would you do that?
I forgot. You know, there's so many episodes we
Chris.
film. Poor thing, bless her heart. It was an interesting one to say the least. But this one, I don't know how you do it.
I mean, my mom lives in Australia, so I never have to watch it with her.
True. There's
I
that.
never have to see that. Actually, no, I did go home and had to catch her up. And we watched episode, I think it's episode 5, maybe? No, yeah, maybe. There's a whole bathtub situation.
Oh, that one with
yeah,
the mamas.
and I forgot that was coming up, and I was sitting by my mom. That was bad. But no, it's great.
Right there. Yeah.
Was the plan always to jump ahead and do all the graduations at the end, or was that to set up for the show?
Good question.
It was to set up for the show, pretty much. Yeah, because one thing that's hard too when you do a family show like that is how long could we keep them in high school? You know, it was, you know, they were all in their 20s, you know, as actors, and it was, and we felt we'd really done all the high school stories that we you know, could do. And I love writing for you guys at your real age, because, you know, I have a 12-year-old, you know, and a 9-year-old, but I mean, like, writing, like, kids having sex at 15, you know, is a little uncomfortable, you know, because you got to have something to talk about, you know, but, like, you know, as your children start to reach that age, you're like, and that's not what you're going to do. Mommy writes that for television, but it is not appropriate in our home.
Yeah, so, Good Trouble and the Fosters both have always done such a great job of working in sort of important topics and hot button issues, sort of things like the fabric of the plot. So I was wondering if there's anything that you guys haven't covered in your stories yet that you're wishing that you could work more into going forward.
There's so much I want to write in, like, because there's, I mean, God, you know, the news, and ever since, you know, that horrible thing that happened. I mean, I'm overwhelmed with things I want to get to and that we all want to tell, and you know, this season, we're doing stories about the pipeline to prison in schools and these diversion programs that they put children of color mostly in for perceived misbehavior in school, but minor things even, like, you know, not turning in your homework. And basically they put them on probation, and they have actual probation officers who they force the families to sign contracts, and they can come in your home and search your home. It's completely egregious, and these kids often end up, you know, being criminalized at a young age and end up in the criminal justice system. So we're doing that. We're also going to talk about the homeless situation and housing, and, you know, like in LA, they're building the Coliseum in Inglewood, and of course the developers coming in and they want to build retail around there, and they want to build luxury condos, and they're pushing people out of their homes. So that's another thing, and I mean, there is just no limitations to the issues that we can tackle.
Good luck following that one. It's a little dark. I'm going to go with this person, and yes.
So when you were doing the spin-off, were there any primary cast members or Fosters that you wanted to bring over and couldn't come? And anybody who wanted to come but it didn't make sense?
It just made sense. The two of them, I mean, everyone's wonderful. We couldn't bring everyone, you know, because then it would just be the Fosters again, right? So Mariana and Callie just have such chemistry. They're sisters. It's a female-driven network. It just made sense that those two would end up moving to LA together and living together.
Cierra and I are also inseparable in real life. Like, we are best friends, and our dynamic is exactly the same.
She's a dream to work with.
Yeah. So.
All together now. Aww. You right there.
So there are always strong, powerful women on both the Fosters and then obviously now in Good Trouble. What did you guys learn from Terry and Jerry that you tried to bring to the new show?
So much.
So much.
Like everything.
I remember when they came back to visit too, we kind of felt like a weight lifted off of our shoulders. Just like, we're like, oh, they're home.
Yeah.
The mamas are here.
We could kind of
They can
relax a
take
little
over.
bit.
Yeah. But I mean, I've learned so much just over the years, just how to carry myself on a set. I've just taking from them as an actress as well, just, you know, just how giving they are. And they've also just been there for us like moms, and just so many life lessons. And yeah, I just love them.
Yeah, they're both really powerful, but in really different ways. I feel like I'm more of a Terry, and you're more of a
Share Bear.
Yeah. Because Terry's like unapologetic and outspoken and strong, and
Sherry's, what do you need? baby?
Sherry's
I got you.
so supportive and steely, and has this just like presence, and doesn't
And
have
we're
to say a
always both at
thing.
Crafties. We love craft services.
I just want to make sure I'm not missing anyone in the back because of the lights. Someone way back there. Yes.
Is your writer's room as diverse as the cast?
It is very diverse. It needs to be more so. That's a goal that I'm working towards. Yeah, it's really important. You know, one thing I've said before, which is that I believe that writers of color can write white characters very easily because, let's face it, they live in a very white-dominated, white supremacy world, and they've seen white characters on TV, and they, you know, that's the reality. I don't think that white writers can write a black character or a Latina character or an Asian character authentically. So if they're not represented in the room, I just think that's, you know, that's a problem. And I think that one thing that we want on the show is as much authenticity as possible. So I think we need more of it. And, you know, I will continue to do that.
Yeah. Right here in the red.
So prior to the knowing that the spinoff was going to happen, were there any plans that you had to wrap up the Fosters, such as Callie and Brandon coming back together?
I was so Team Browley.
I was too.
Really?
You guys love incest?
Okay. They weren't okay, whatever. Let me live.
We decided pretty early on that it was never, there was never going to be, that they were going to be brother and sister and be family, adoptive, but be family over romantic. We just felt that was more in keeping with the message of our show, and also the responsible message about foster care, because there is a lot of abuse in foster care, and we certainly didn't want to, and it's not to say that it's abusive, but it's also just not appropriate for those lines to be crossed, so that was important to us to maintain that. Well, we didn't know we were wrapping up the series when we were breaking the final season. So things had to shift. We also got extra episodes to do it in, and then rolled right into Good Trouble. So it was a lot of work at that time, but yeah, so we...
You haven't stopped since.
Yeah, we have not.
It's fine. I can rest when I'm dead.
These are good problems. We got time, I think, for one more.
She's had her hand up for a minute.
Go for it.
Being that you guys like did grow up with your characters, was there anything that you find yourself like doing that you're like, oh, my character, or like anything that you even learned from your characters that you take into your life now?
Everything I'm wearing right now belongs to Callie's closet. Literally.
That's true.
Like, I raided her closet. Yeah, I mean, I think the longer we've all worked together, the more I think, you know, the writer's room writes for us as well. So
You know
it's
our
kind of a
language,
mix.
the way we speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would like to think I'm very Mariana. A lot of moments too. Just like I'll watch it and I'm like, oh my God, that's so mean.
You are pretty cringy too.
I'm pretty. I have at least one cringe
clumsy.
moment every day.
Yes, you do.
So yeah, there's that.
I would like to think I have my shit together a little more than Callie does.
You do.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're not impulsive in this way that Callie is, but Callie's impulsivity has matured, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the fact that she, wait, I'm going to figure out where we are, because I'm so ahead in my head. Oh, we don't know that yet. Never mind. But you'll see.
Yeah. And with that amazing tease, Good Trouble returns June 18th at 8 p.m. on Freeform. Thanks, everybody.